Patricia Gibson.
Madam Chair, and I would like to express my delight at serving under your chairmanship, Madam Chair, and I'd like to extend my thanks to the Honourable Member for Stockport for securing this important debate. I come to this debate with a career of over 20 years as an English teacher, and this is a subject very close to my heart. I have had the experience of teaching young people who have had the misfortune, the upset of being caught up in adverse family circumstances and found themselves in the position of what we now call being looked after children, and sometimes being residents of children's homes. But to put a child in a children's home must surely be a last resort for reasons that I will go on to explain in a moment. Children who find themselves in children's homes, it's no great surprise, I don't think, that these children are often very angry. Despite the best efforts of the staff, the very well-meaning staff in the care home, these young people become angry and disengaged with the world. And this is because, regardless of how challenging home circumstances might be, it is, as we can imagine, extremely traumatic for a young person to be removed from their loved ones, to be placed in an environment of strangers, however much attention, affection or concern is expressed by these people. They are strangers to the young person, and it's a very difficult transition for them to make, even if it's only on a temporary basis. We know that some homes for children do an excellent job. I have examples in my own constituency of North Ayrshire and Arran. But for the young person, that's not necessarily the point. It's the strangeness, the unfamiliarity, the confusion, and very often the social stigma associated within their own peer group of being removed to a children's home that causes so much distress, and it's very important to be mindful of that. But of course, not every young person who is a looked-after child ends up in a children's home. There are other options. They may be looked after at home under a supervision requirement. They may be in foster care, a residential unit or school, a secure unit, or indeed a kinship placement. In Scotland, we have made some progress with a decrease in looked-after children of 1% from 2014, the third consecutive year in which the numbers have decreased, and with the numbers leaving care each year being lower than those entering care. The number of looked-after children in England is rising, and I have to say, if the situation were in reverse and the numbers were rising in Scotland, I would be taking a great interest in what was happening in England to see what we can learn from that. I would be urging the Scottish Government, of whatever political make-up, to look at the work being done in England to see if we could apply the same lessons in Scotland, because this is not a party political issue. We all seek the best outcomes for our children, wherever they come from in the United Kingdom. And the beauty of devolution is that it allows component parts of the United Kingdom to seek the best solutions that they can find. But that also provides excellent opportunities from us to learn from each other and to look at the different experiences as they are applied. And I think these opportunities should be seized with enthusiasm and curiosity. And I want to applaud, if I may, Madam Chair, kinship care. The number of children in Scotland benefiting from kinship care exceeds those looked after at home. There is little doubt that kinship care is the most effective way, for all the good work that we know is undertaken in children's homes. Kinship care is the most effective way of providing care for vulnerable young people. And as a society, I think we all owe a debt of gratitude to those who assume kinship care roles, a very challenging role that does not, in my view, receive the recognition it deserves. And in the SNP government in Scotland, I'm proud to say, has provided kinship carers with additional support so that care allowances are the same as those provided to foster carers. There is no reason why children living with kinship carers should not be treated in the same way as other children in foster care. Their stories are no less traumatic, no less distressing, their vulnerability is no less real. Supporting families is vital, and that's been the entire approach in Scotland, with an increase in action being taken earlier in children's lives to address any concerns before they escalate, decreasing the number of children on child protection registers by 4%. The way forward must be stable, secure placements either at home with their parents or in a different home environment where the child can benefit from the security and stability upon which child development thrives. At the end of last year, Madam Chair, I was involved in a backbench debate on the sexual exploitation of young people. And the Chamber was urged by various speakers in that debate to look at examples from Finland, Iceland, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, you name it. Any country you could think of in Europe, good examples of best practice were being held up for the Chamber to consider. And while, of course, it is important, as I've already said, to learn from other nations, I pointed out in my own contribution to that debate that we have some excellent examples in Scotland, where a child in foster, kinship or residential care can continue their residency up to the age of 21, and support can also be provided for care leavers up to the age of 26 if it is considered necessary and desirable. And while I point out to such examples of good practice, I'm afraid that my holding up this good example was covered over by the Charter in the Chamber. And of course there are excellent examples in mainland Europe, but we must learn from each other in the United Kingdom, because the whole point is to have the best outcomes for all of the children in the United Kingdom, wherever they live. We all agree that we need to ensure that all children who need extra support must be able to access it. We need to learn from each other, and we need to keep on learning from each other about how the best way is to ensure that that support is in place. And that is the very least our children deserve.